All right, so today we're doing a deep dive, into Binding 13.
Okay.
Specifically, those excerpts that you shared with me about Shannon and Johnny.
Okay, yeah.
And we're going to kind of unpack their relationship.
Right.
It's complicated, to say the least.
It is.
And see what Chloe Walsh is saying about bullying and social class, and maybe even, like finding yourself all within this fictional world.
Yeah, and that's what I find really interesting about young adult fiction like this is that, it takes these universal experiences that we all go through in some way, shape, or form.
Totally.
And it just makes it so vivid.
Yeah.
Even though it's a made-up story,
Right.
these characters grapple with things that resonate across generations.
That's so true. It's like a window into those intense feelings of adolescence, but with added drama and intrigue.
Exactly.
So we're at Tommen College
Yeah.
in Ireland, in a private school.
Right.
And we've got Shannon Lynch and Johnny Kavanagh.
Yes.
Their backgrounds couldn't be more different.
Not really.
Could they?
Shannon's struggling.
Yeah.
Abusive alcoholic father.
Right.
Strained relationship with her mom.
Uh-huh.
She leans heavily on her older brother, Joey, for support.
Yeah.
It's a stark contrast to the world of Tommen.
Yeah.
Almost like she's stepping into a different universe.
Absolutely. And it's not even just the economic difference.
Right.
Remember how she transferred to Tommen to escape relentless bullying at her old school?
Mm-hmm.
You get the sense she's craving anonymity, just wanting to blend in.
Yeah.
Then, boom, she's accidentally injured by Johnny during a rugby game.
Right.
And everything changes.
Yeah. It's like their lives were destined to collide.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of Johnny,
okay,
he's the rising rugby star, practically has a scholarship to a prestigious academy in the bag.
Yeah.
Comes from a well-off family.
Uh-huh.
But what's interesting is he's almost bored at school, even with the rugby team.
He finds them too easy.
Yes, needs that challenge.
Right.
But this accident with Shannon really shakes him up. It's like he's hit with this wave of guilt.
Yeah.
And it sparks this almost protective instinct toward her.
Right.
But is it genuine care or something else?
That's the question, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
He does things like waiting for her after school.
Yes.
Steps in when those girls are mocking her.
Yeah.
Even comforts her during a panic attack.
Uh-huh.
He's not just the stereotypical tough guy. He's showing vulnerability.
Right.
Which makes his character so much more compelling.
Don't you think?
Oh, for sure. But then there's that scene where he overhears the girls making fun of Shannon.
Okay.
And he just snaps.
Yeah.
Physically intervenes, gets into a fight.
Right.
It's like this protective urge is mixed with a volatile temper.
Yes.
What do you make of that?
I think it speaks to his internal conflict.
Okay.
On one hand, he's drawn to Shannon wants to be there for her.
Uh-huh.
But on the other, he's terrified of messing up his rugby future.
Right.
It's this push and pull between his feelings and his ambition.
And it makes you wonder, is his anger truly about protecting Shannon? Or is there a sense of possessiveness mixed in?
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
That's a great observation.
Yeah.
It makes you question if his love, if we can even call it that at this point,
right,
is ultimately healthy,
right,
or potentially possessive.
Yeah.
Especially when you think about how Shannon is already dealing with an abusive father.
Yeah.
Could Johnny's behavior be mirroring that in some way?
Whoa. That's a heavy thought. But it makes sense. Shannon's so used to keeping her pain hidden, even with Johnny.
Right.
It's like she's built up these walls to protect herself.
Yes.
Which makes those moments of genuine connection with him even more powerful.
Exactly.
Like that scene where he shares his treasured childhood photo with her.
Uh-huh.
It's intimate, a glimpse into his past.
Yes.
And it deepens their bond. You can see why she's drawn to him, craving that stability and kindness.
Exactly.
It's almost like they're both drawn to each other's hidden pain.
Mm-hmm.
They see something in each other that others miss. Speaking of pain, the bullying at Tommen, especially from Bella and her posse, takes center stage.
Right.
That scene where Bella humiliates Shannon in the lunch hall is brutal.
It's brutal, and it highlights the cruelty that can exist even in these seemingly privileged environments.
It's true.
Bella uses her social status as a weapon.
Right.
Fueled by jealousy and a need to control everything around her.
It's like this power play, and Johnny gets sucked right into it when he assaults Cormac, Bella's new boyfriend.
Yes.
Is he really defending Shannon, or is it about proving his dominance?
I think it's both.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it so complicated.
Okay.
His actions have serious consequences.
Right.
Showing how violence can escalate even when it stems from a protective instinct.
And the aftermath is messy.
Yeah.
Shannon, feeling vulnerable, skips school.
Right.
Johnny, frustrated that she didn't confide in him. Doesn't get why she's shutting down. It's like they're speaking different languages when it comes to expressing their emotions.
Absolutely. It shows how crucial communication is, especially when trauma is involved.
Yeah.
Shannon's used to hiding her pain while Johnny's used to direct confrontation.
Right.
It's no wonder they're clashing. But then they end up on this unplanned trip to Dublin for a rugby tournament.
Oh, yeah.
And things get even more intense.
Oh, that trip really throws them together in a whole new environment, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Shannon's terrified her dad will find out she's gone.
Right.
While Johnny's struggling with his injury. It's like their vulnerabilities are exposed, which leads to that electric scene in the Dublin changing rooms.
That scene is loaded with unspoken tension.
Oh, yeah.
Johnny's in agony after his injury. And Shannon, even with her own anxieties, just wants to comfort him.
Yeah.
That almost kiss.
Oh, my God.
It's like they're on the verge of something big, but fear and uncertainty are holding them back.
So much is left unsaid.
Yeah.
It's a classic case of will they or won't they?
Exactly.
And you're dying to know what happens next. But before we get into that, I just want to talk about the contrast between their families.
Yes.
Because it's pretty stark, right?
Completely. Johnny's family is supportive, encouraging his rugby dreams.
Right.
Shannon, on the other hand, lives with constant fear of her father's drunken rages.
Right.
Those glimpses we get into her home life are heartbreaking.
Yes.
Especially when you compare them to Johnny's comfortable, loving home.
It's like they're living in two different worlds, which makes their connection even more intriguing.
Yes.
But also more difficult can their love,
right,
if that's what it is, really bridge that gap.
Yeah.
But what do you think about that?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
It makes you wonder if Johnny can truly understand the depth of Shannon's struggles. Right. And can Shannon find solace and security in his affection?
Yeah.
Or will their differences ultimately tear them apart?
Ooh, I like that, tear them apart. It's almost Shakespearean. But seriously, it makes you wonder how their different backgrounds are going to influence their choices as the story unfolds.
Yeah, and don't forget that recurring motif of Shannon's father's voice echoing in Johnny's mind.
Right.
What's that all about? It's subtle, but unsettling. Like there's this deeper connection between them that hasn't been revealed yet.
Right. It's like this foreshadowing, hinting at a shared experience or a secret.
Yes.
That could either bring them closer or blow everything up.
Exactly.
It's a brilliant way to hook you into the story.
Yeah.
Leaving you wanting more.
It is. You know, it's fascinating how Chloe Walsh uses these tiny, almost mundane details to build such a believable world. Remember how Shannon describes packing her toothbrush and toothpaste in a Ziploc bag before school?
Oh, yeah.
It's such a small thing.
Yeah.
But it speaks volumes about her anxiety and the instability of her home life.
It's those little things that make her so relatable, right? Like we've all felt that teenage awkwardness and insecurity. But for Shannon, it's amplified by the chaos and fear she experiences at home.
Exactly.
It's like she's constantly on edge, waiting for the other shoe to drop.
And then you have Johnny, this seemingly confident rugby star who's secretly struggling after his groin surgery. He downplays the severity of his injury, hiding his pain and pushing himself way too hard.
And remember, he even admits to Shannon that he's scared.
Yes.
Which is huge for a guy like him.
Yes.
He's allowing himself to be vulnerable.
Right.
And he even regrets telling her.
Yeah.
Like it's given her some power over him. That's a pretty big step for Johnny, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It shows that beneath his tough exterior, he's just as insecure and uncertain as any teenager.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to matters of the heart. Yeah. He's used to being in control on the field and in his life. Right. And this vulnerability is new territory for him.
Speaking of new territory, that almost kiss in the Dublin changing rooms.
Oh, my God.
You could cut the tension with a knife.
Right.
The unspoken emotions are practically jumping off the page.
It's a great example of how the author uses physical proximity and unspoken longing to create that intense emotional atmosphere.
Okay.
Shannon's overwhelmed with concern for Johnny, and she acts impulsively wanting to comfort him. And Johnny, caught off guard by her touch, is struggling to reconcile his attraction with his fear of jeopardizing his rugby future.
It's like they're both drawn to each other, but they're terrified of what might happen if they actually cross that line.
Yeah.
And then there's the fallout from Bella's public humiliation of Shannon.
Yes.
It's a brutal scene.
It is.
Showing just how vicious teenage bullying can be.
Right.
Especially when social status is involved.
It's a stark reminder that these kinds of power dynamics and cruelty can exist anywhere.
Yeah.
Even in seemingly privileged environments like Tommen. Bella's jealousy and need for control are so powerful that she's willing to use her social standing to inflict pain on Shannon.
And Johnny's reaction is explosive.
Yeah.
He doesn't just defend Shannon verbally.
Right.
He physically attacks Cormac and threatens Bella's entire social standing.
Uh-huh.
It's a display of loyalty, for sure.
Yes.
But it's also a bit unsettling, wouldn't you say?
Definitely, it makes you question his motivations. Is this purely about defending Shannon, or is there an element of possessiveness, of needing to control the situation, and maybe even Shannon herself?
It's like his protective instincts are mixed with this almost primal need to assert dominance, and the aftermath is just as complicated.
Yeah.
Shannon, who's used to handling her problems alone,
right,
runs away feeling overwhelmed and misunderstood, and Johnny, frustrated by her silence, can't understand why she's shutting down.
Their miscommunication highlights a recurring theme in the story.
Okay.
The importance of open and honest communication. Shannon's past trauma makes it difficult for her to express her feelings even to someone she trusts.
Right.
And Johnny, used to direct confrontation, completely misses the depth of her emotional wounds.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit and talk about Shannon's home life.
Okay.
Remember when Johnny drops her off after the Dublin trip?
Yes.
And witnesses her father's drunken rage firsthand?
Oh, yeah.
It's a terrifying scene.
It is.
That really brings home the reality of her situation.
Absolutely. The verbal abuse, her brother Joey's desperate attempts to shield her.
Right.
The palpable fear in that house, it all paints a stark picture of the trauma she endures daily.
It's true.
And it really highlights the vast difference between their two worlds.
Yeah.
Johnny's home is comfortable, loving, supportive.
Right.
Shannon's is chaotic, unpredictable, and dangerous.
It makes you wonder if their connection can truly survive those differences.
Yeah.
It's one thing to be drawn to each other amidst the relative safety of Tommen, but can their bond withstand the pressures of their real lives? What do you think about that?
That's a great question. It's like they're living in two different universes.
Yeah.
And those universes are on a collision course. Will their love, or whatever it is they're feeling, be strong enough to bridge that gap, or will it shatter under the strain?
And speaking of collisions, remember Johnny's close call?
Yes.
During the rugby final?
Oh, yeah.
It's a heart-stopping moment.
It is.
That shows just how much he's willing to risk to achieve his dreams.
It's also a turning point for him.
Okay.
The severity of his injury, the physical and emotional toll it takes, forces him to confront the potential consequences of his relentless pursuit of success.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder if his ambition is blinding him to the potential long-term damage he's doing to himself.
And Shannon's reaction is so telling.
Yeah.
She's not worried about whether he can play rugby again.
Right.
She's worried about him as a person. It shows the depth of her care for him.
Yes.
Which goes way beyond his athletic achievements.
It also highlights the difference in their perspectives.
Okay.
Johnny sees his injury as a setback.
Yeah.
A threat to his future in rugby.
Right.
Shannon, having experienced real-life trauma, prioritizes his health and happiness above everything else.
Then there's that scene at Johnny's house after his surgery.
Yes.
His mom, bless her heart, unknowingly brings Shannon over to keep him company. And it's absolute chaos.
It is.
Johnny's delirious rambling about his father.
Yes.
And it's both hilarious and a little unsettling.
It's a perfect example of how the author balances humor and heartbreak.
Yeah.
One minute you're laughing at Johnny's antics.
Right.
The next you're reminded of darker themes lurking beneath the surface. And that recurring mention of father.
Right.
It echoes that earlier motif of Shannon's father's voice haunting Johnny's thoughts.
Right. It's like there's this invisible thread connecting them, this shared experience or secret that hasn't been fully revealed yet. Makes you wonder, what's the significance of this connection? Is it just a coincidence, or is there something more going on?
And then there's the scene where Johnny's dad confronts him about his reckless behavior.
Okay.
It's a powerful moment that reveals the complexities of their father-son bond. Johnny craves his dad's approval.
Right.
But he's also determined to forge his own path.
And the fact that his dad actually believes in him.
Yeah.
That he thinks Johnny can make it as a professional rugby player.
Right.
It's a huge boost for Johnny's confidence, but it also makes you wonder if this newfound belief will change his perspective, his priorities. Will he continue to push himself to the limit, or will he start to listen to his body, to those who care about him?
It raises a really interesting question.
Yeah.
How much are we willing to sacrifice for our ambitions? At what point does the pursuit of success become detrimental to our well-being? And speaking of sacrifices, that cliffhanger where Johnny's dad reveals he knows about Shannon, about the incident in the Dublin changing rooms.
I know.
It's a game changer.
It leaves you hanging.
Yes.
Wondering what's going to happen next.
Right.
Will their families intervene?
Yeah.
Will this revelation push Johnny and Shannon closer together, or will it drive them apart?
And what about those lingering questions about their shared past? Will those secrets finally come to light? It seems like we're about to enter a whole new level of complexity.
So we left off with Johnny's dad dropping that bombshell like he knows about Shannon.
Right.
It's like a ticking time bomb. You know it's going to explode, but you don't know when or how.
And it raises so many questions like, will their families get involved?
Right.
Will Shannon and Johnny be able to handle the pressure? It's interesting because up to this point, their relationship has mostly played out within the walls of Tommen.
Right.
Now the real world is intruding, forcing them to confront the complexities of their situation.
Speaking of complex.
Okay.
Let's talk about that scene in the school bathroom.
Okay.
Bella and her friends confront Shannon, and it gets ugly fast.
It's a classic example of how rumors and misinformation can be weaponized, especially in a high school setting.
It's true.
Bella, fueled by jealousy and whatever twisted version of the Dublin incident she's heard, resorts to slut-shaming and attacks Shannon's background.
Yeah.
Council house slut, she calls her.
Oh, it's awful.
Aiming to completely undermine Shannon's credibility and isolate her.
It's brutal. And you could feel the power dynamics at play. Bella, using her social status as a weapon, is trying to put Shannon back in her place.
Right.
But Johnny's not having it.
No.
He jumps in to defend Shannon.
Yes.
Threatening Bella with social ruin.
Right.
It's a powerful moment. But it also makes you wonder, is his reaction truly about protecting Shannon? Or is there a darker, more possessive side to it?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
On one hand, you admire his unwavering loyalty.
Yeah.
But on the other, you see that same volatile temper, that need to control the situation, even if it means resorting to threats. Right.
It makes you question if his love for Shannon, however strong it might be, is ultimately healthy. What do you think about that?
It's tough because you can see both sides. He genuinely cares about Shannon.
Yeah.
But there's definitely a possessive streak there, too. And it's interesting how Shannon reacts. She tries to downplay the whole thing, even lies to Johnny about what Bella said, all to protect him from getting into more trouble.
That speaks volumes about her character, doesn't it?
Yeah.
She's so used to minimizing her own pain, to putting others' needs before her own. It's a coping mechanism she's developed from years of living in a volatile and abusive home.
And it makes that scene where Johnny apologizes for not kissing her back even more poignant.
Yes.
He finally admits that he was just scared.
It's a raw and vulnerable moment for him. He's letting down his guard, admitting that he's not always in control, especially when it comes to his feelings for Shannon.
Right.
And the way he describes her, it's clear he's deeply attracted to her. But there's also a tenderness there.
A real affection that goes beyond the physical.
Totally. He calls her a wet dream.
Right.
Which sounds kind of crude, but you can tell he means it in a sweet way.
Yeah.
And Shannon's response is interesting, too. She downplays it, tells him not to worry. But her actions speak louder than words. She lingers near him, seeks his company, and eventually finds comfort in his arms. It's like they're both drawn to each other, but they're still figuring out what it all means.
Exactly. Their relationship is this dance of push and pull, a mix of intense traction fear and a deep need for connection.
Right.
Then we're slammed back into reality with that scene where Shannon returns home after the Dublin trip.
Oh, right.
Her dad is in a drunken rage, and it's terrifying.
Like a punch to the gut. You're reminded of the harsh reality of her life, the constant threat of violence, and the immense pressure she's under. Her brother, Joey, steps in to protect her.
Yes.
He even threatens to take their younger siblings away if their mom doesn't finally stand up to their dad.
Talk about a responsibility on a teenager's shoulders.
I know, it's awful.
But Joey's love for his siblings is fierce. He's willing to do whatever it takes to protect them, even if it means going against his parents. It's a really powerful moment that shows the strength and resilience of the Lynch family, despite the challenges they face.
Then out of the blue, we get this twist.
Okay.
Joey and his girlfriend Aoif run into Johnny outside a pub.
Oh, yeah.
He's injured, clearly needing help. It's random, but it further intertwines their lives, setting the stage for that hilarious scene at Johnny's house, where delirious Johnny mistakes Aoif for Shannon.
It's a classic case of mistaken identity, and it provides some much-needed comic relief. The chaos that ensues is both funny and endearing. You see the softer side of Johnny's family, especially his mom, who's surprisingly kind and concerned for Shannon despite the awkward circumstances.
And the fact that Johnny's phone ends up in Joey's car.
Right.
It's a seemingly small detail, but it leads to that phone call between Shannon and Johnny's best friend, Gibbsy.
Yes.
Which is pure gold. Gibbsy's quick wit and playful banter are a welcome contrast to the intensity of Johnny and Shannon's relationship.
Oh, absolutely. Gibbsy brings this lightness and humor to the story, which is so important given the heavy themes that are explored. And even though he teases Johnny relentlessly, you can tell he's a true friend, always there to support him.
So we've got this whole crew now, Joey, Gibbsy, and Shannon, all trying to navigate the aftermath of Johnny's surgery and his delirious ramblings.
Yeah.
It's a recipe for disaster, but it also leads to some heartwarming moments. Like when Johnny, still recovering from surgery, lifts Shannon onto a stool so she can reach the cereal.
It's a small gesture, but it speaks volumes about his growing affection for her. He's not just thinking about himself. He's looking out for her even when he's in pain.
And then we get that heart-to-heart between Johnny and Gibbsy.
Yeah.
He finally confesses his true feelings for Shannon, admitting he can't stop thinking about her.
It's like he's finally letting himself be vulnerable, not just with Shannon, but with his best friend. It's a pivotal moment. He's acknowledging the depth of his feelings, the fact that this is more than just a fling.
Yeah.
And Gibbsy's reaction is perfect. He's skeptical at first, then amused. And ultimately supportive. You can see the genuine care and respect between them, even as they tease each other mercilessly.
Then, boom, another bombshell. Johnny reveals that he's struggling to recover from his surgery.
Right.
That he's in constant pain and might need another operation, and Shannon overhears the whole thing.
Talk about a dramatic reveal.
Oh my gosh.
It completely shifts the dynamics. Yeah. Suddenly, Shannon sees the true cost of Johnny's ambition, the sacrifices he's willing to make for rugby.
Yeah.
It deepens her concern for him.
Right.
And her feelings evolve beyond just attraction. Yeah. It's now about genuine care and worry.
And the ending, Shannon ends up back at Johnny's house seeking refuge after the confrontation with Bella at school. It's like she instinctively knows that's the one place where she can truly be herself, where she feels safe and understood.
It's a beautiful moment of connection. Despite all the chaos and uncertainty that surrounds them, they find solace in each other's presence, a temporary escape from the harsh realities of their lives.
But we're left with so many unanswered questions. Will Johnny need another surgery? What will happen when Shannon's parents find out about her relationship with Johnny? And what about those hints about a shared past? Will those secrets finally be revealed? Binding 13 is a book that stays with you, making you think about the complexities of adolescence, the power of love and friendship, and the incredible resilience of the human spirit.
Yeah. What are your final takeaways from this deep dive? What resonated most with you? What do you think Chloe Walsh is trying to say about social class bullying and those intense, messy feelings of first love? I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
It's a reminder that everyone has a story, even those who seem to have it all figured out. And sometimes those stories intersect in the most unexpected ways, leading to growth, heartbreak, and ultimately a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us.
Beautifully said. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll be back soon with another fascinating exploration. Until then, keep those minds curious.